Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning. Oh man. Let's see. I think I probably missed CMZ live already. I did. It's all good in the hood. I ain't mad at it. I could probably check their website and get their rundown.
Welcome back to TNZ Live. We got Kobe Bryant out in Washington, D.C. and asked him a great question, actually. It's actually this question. I guess our guy Colin was thinking, well, Kobe won an Academy Award, an Oscar. Right. And we know that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are in showbiz. They're in showbiz already. They got their big deal with Netflix. They're making all kinds of content for Netflix. What was he offered advice to the Obama? They reach out to him. Watch this.
President Obama any advice about getting into the movie business? Sorry? Have you given President Obama any advice about getting into the movie business? Okay. Is he into it real big now?
Well, I think just the fact that Kobe has talked to Obama about his veteranship, it's really interesting. Yeah, they're all. I would have guessed he would have said no. I don't know why I would have guessed that, but now I think about it, it makes sense that he said, I talked to him about it. I'm surprised that because he transitioned, he talked to him. It's interesting. Anyway, those things help. We'll see you tomorrow. All right.
Odyssey rates the rookies. He thought that Downhill offers.
That's because Kobe is a well-read brother. And Obama would not mind working with him at all. Hey, yo, T.I., thanks, brother. I seen that video, man. Man, that thing is like that. That thing is like that. Childish Gambino could not have come up with it himself. I'm just kidding, Childish. You know where I'm going with it. But yeah, though. Ah, man. So, I hear the abomination to Obama's nation, or the Benedict Arnold of Black America. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Okay. I hear that man took some Yeezys down to Uganda. That's what's up. That's what's up, you know what I mean? Yeezys cost about the ones he took down there are the white ones, the little clear, cream color ones, I guess. I ain't never bought no Yeezys. I mean, it costs so much money. But long story short though, but not really cost so much money. I'm just cheap like that. You know what I mean? My clothes will make me who I am. You know. I know that's kinda stupid to some people, but it makes sense. But those cost about $190. At least the parents of those kids can fortunately sell those sneakers if they can find buyers for them and have something that's a little bit more than, because the average monthly income in Uganda is about $133 equivalent, which is about 453,000 shillings, Uganda shillings, you know what I mean? The country is so poor, they can't afford to make their own money. Their money is made in England and shipped to Uganda at cost, you know what I mean? They gotta pay somebody else to make their money that they spend, and their money gets shipped, they gotta pay for all that. But, you know, you gotta show black folks that you still care about the motherland, right? I'm sure Kim Kardashian did not pick up any little big-bellied African kids and kiss him or her on the cheek. She's not Angelina. But I digress though. Yo, rest in perfect peace to Paul Allen, yo. That man has done so much for Africa. That man did so much more. If it wasn't for that man's contribution, the Ebola outbreak would not have been contained the way it got contained and the way it got contained. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, one of those good-hearted white boys, you know. Okay, where we at? This is from NBCnews.com. It was published on October the 12th of 2018 by Mariana Sotomayor and Lee Ann Caldwell, and it is titled Behind the Senate Deal to Confirm Scores of Conservative Judges. The Senate this term under Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has far surpassed the number of judicial confirmation of any Senate during the past 5 administrations. So the past 5 administrations, Obama had 2 terms, Bush had 2 terms, that's 4. Clinton had 2, that's 6, that's 3 administrations. Bush's father had 1, that's 7, that's 4 administrations. And then who was it before him? Reagan? Or am I wrong? Was it Reagan or Ford? She was Reagan. Ford came before, yeah. No, she wasn't Reagan. It was Nixon, Ford, then Carter, then Reagan. Reagan 79, the Tehran Revolution, the embassy attack in 79. Reagan took advantage of that, and it was Reagan, and it was Bush. Okay, yeah. So, what's that? 8 times 4, 32. In 32 years, this Senate right here, their term started in January 2017. In a year and 9 months, so everything they've done now, they've accomplished what hasn't been able to accomplish in 32 years in a year and 9 months with the full Congress. You know what I mean? Just to kind of put it in perspective. So it reads, Washington, no matter how the midterm election shakes out, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, has already won. Yeah, lie about that. The deal late this week that paved the way, this was last week, for the Senate to recess until after the midterm elections added 3 circuit court and 12 district court judges to an already historic number of Republican judges confirmed by the Senate since Dumchuk took office, turning McConnell's quest to remake the federal courts from dream to reality. I've been hearing some people run their mouth about how it's disrespectful for T.I. to make that video he just made about Melanie Trump, and if that would have been done with Michelle Obama, it would have been allowed because of some double standard, because she was black and Melania is Russian. But put it this way, Michelle Obama would have never one to be in that sphere of being placed in that category of being parodied in such manners. With all the racist undertone bullshit that was ever said and done about Michelle, that wasn't one of them, because that's not even in her line of characters. That's not even in her cachet of characters for her to be like that. She actually went with her husband to places, you know what I mean? She did not want to stay back at the White House and have a little rendezvous with one of her bodyguards, you know. Where's Kevin Costner where you need him? Rest in peace with. But yeah, I just had to say that for y'all thinking like that, you know what I mean? But y'all obviously have to think like that, you know. Y'all only mad at the video in that T.I. because he portrayed racist America's Russian first lady in her true light, you know what I mean? Awesome job, T. Back to this NBC News article. It said the Senate this term under McConnell has far surpassed the number of judicial confirmations for any Senate during the past 5 administrations. A total of 84 Trump appointees, including 29 to the Circuit Court and 53 to the District Court and 2 to the Supreme Court. Trump's nominee will fill a whopping 15% of the Circuit Court seats. 15% of this country's judges are judges who believe that black folks should be kept down. Black folks should be kept inferior to white folks. That Latinos along with black folks should be kept down there because it's only so much they can be allowed to access, while the mainstream white race is allowed to access the whole kid and caboodle. You know what I mean? But I digress. Now you're about to see why one of the reasons I'm advocating for the total dissolution of the Republican Party, yo. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Because for as long as they've been around, since the Great War, since the Great American Civil War, which was fought over that same line of whether or not the enslavement of a whole race of citizens of this country should be kept enslaved. You know what I mean? It got to the point where Lincoln had to compromise. Lincoln had to compromise with these motherfuckers. Presidents after Lincoln had to compromise because they wanted to put loopholes so they can keep the descendants of people who were enslaved in a certain level in life in this country. You know what I mean? It wasn't right yesterday, it's not right today, it's not going to be right tomorrow unless those descendants of those people actually do something about it, actually become involved. You know what I mean? So, but I digress. So, and the Democratic Party, for better or for worse, the backbone that the Democratic Party lacks, maybe that can be straightened with the participation, with the full, consistent participation of that black race. You know what I mean? That's the history of America. It's always been up to black folks to show America that, yes, she is not right and certain things needs to be fixed. You know what I mean? But back to the NBC news article. The pace is particularly striking when compared with the term that preceded it. During the last 2 years of President Barack Obama's second term, McConnell allowed floor votes on only 22 of his judicial nominees. For comparison, Democrats confirmed 68 of President George W. Bush's nominee during the same time frame. You know what I mean? Like, you see how it's always bullshit. That's why when this motherfucker came out talking about he's trying to change Washington, shit ain't getting done. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's just what it is. You know what I mean? It's just the Democratic Party has always been the party of compromise and willing to work with others. That's why when people come out and say Barack Obama forced to, it's Obamacare, he did not get bipartisan support. He was never going to get bipartisan support because he was trying to cut into the profits of the major insurance companies. And who owns the major insurance companies? It's all conservative backers. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, everybody's involved in the game, Democrats and Republicans, but the Democratic Party has a more positive history of wanting to move things forward and not keep things backwards in that racist, bigoted sense, you know what I mean? That segregated sense. So, it says, during the last 2 years of President Barack Obama's second term, McConnell allowed floor votes on only 22 of his judicial nominees. By comparison, Democrats confirmed 68 of President George W. Bush's nominees during the same time frame. McConnell has said his push to confirm a record number of young nominees to lifetime seats on the U.S. Judicial Court will motivate GOP voters to keep the Senate Republican and keep those confirmations coming. Try to tell y'all, man. Like, this is no secret, but the only way you find out about what the fuck is going on is if you actually read some shit. Like, just take a little time away. All these things can come at your phone. Like Carmen said, like Microsoft hired the perfect spokesperson. I know they did not have to pay him the money that they paid Jerry Seinfeld when he did them little dumbass little. Hey, I fucks with Jerry. Seinfeld is like one of my favorite shows ever. You know what I mean? I fucks with Jerry. But at the same time though, He had that big money from Microsoft them days. Him and Bill Gates was on them commercials, bumping and shit. You know what I mean? It was awesome. But common in them new commercials, like he said, everything is at our fingertips. Everything comes at us. You know what I mean? But I digress. Though. This is Namakono saying something. Lose the Senate and the project of confirming judges is over for the last 2 years of dumb truck. He's right. He's absolutely right. And they need to lose the Senate, yeah. By the time this will be out there, quite literally, it will be 2 weeks to election time. If you're a black person or Latino person in America right now, today, if you do not go exercise your vote on November the 6th of 2018, you will forever regret it. Because starting this year, this is the actual pinnacle of what it means to actually form and band together to stop something that has reared its head that no one can deny. You cannot deny that this motherfucker represents something that shouldn't have been continuing to make it, but it's always going to continue to make it. I'm not promising it's going to stop. I can never promise that. Only God knows that, you know what I mean? I can never promise that, but at the same time though, consistent collective activity goes a long way towards helping reduce and alleviate some of those ills that is America. John McCain knew that before he passed. John McCain has always known that. You know what I mean? His understanding of what it means to be a Republican and what it means to move America forward from the ills of America, his brand of republicanism is dead. It's dead and gone with him. I hate to say it, but it's absolutely gone with that man. You know what I mean? Back to the racist Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. He says, lose the Senate and the project of confirming judges is over for the last 2 years of dump truck, McConnell said in an interview with NPR. That, I think, is a scary prospect to the people who like what we've been doing on the Judge Project, and I hope will help us hold on to our majority. You see, like him saying that, he doesn't. All he has to do is say that. That's all he has to do. White folks, people who voted for Trump are gonna go out and go vote again. Believe it or not. It might be a small fraction who realize that they were wrong when they voted for him and his cohorts the first time. But a good majority of them are leaving his dumbass behind. They are. You know what I mean? I know y'all are. Thank you very much. The true American in you guys are coming out. I get it. I love it. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, awesome sauce. Let's go with it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, though, there's a great portion, like, of everything I ever read about election strategies and what wins election, what this and that. The one thing I never hear anybody point out, the one thing I've never heard anybody point out, because just like Dump Truck couldn't say anything about black folks because the president that he was trying to replace was black. Just because he couldn't say anything about black folks, you cannot come at the African Americans straight up. You got to come at the African Americans sideways. That's why he had to go at Mexicans who he knew that, yeah. You know what I mean? The one thing I never hear, the one thing you never hear, is the fact that there's a major lack of minority representation in the vote. There's a major lack of minority representation in the vote. That costs progressive votes every time. Every goddamn year, yo, it costs progressive votes. And so all the black folks out there who vote every year, I've met some of them, I know some of them, but I've met more who don't vote than the ones who vote. Y'all know I'm right. For all of those who vote every year, thank you, keep it up. I know y'all gonna keep it up. I know y'all know I'm right. You know what I mean? Y'all just hoping people would just pay attention to shit. You know what I mean? So like, the one thing you never hear is the fact that a writer or an analyst or think tank comes out blatantly and say that, oh, black folks don't vote, Latinos don't vote. That's why the Republican Party can get away with shit. And that's majorly always the reason. If you go back and retroactively apply the potential number of black votes that could have been if there was actually black representation at the polls every year, I'm not talking about every 4 year in presidential elections, every year, if you go back and retroactively add those, there would have been at least a 65-35 majority on the with the Democratic lean for at least the last 40 years. I'm trying to tell ya. These 62 million white racists are not the majority in this country. Their time was dead and gone in 1865. You know what I mean? Quite literally. Their time was dead and gone 153 years ago. But they're gonna keep hanging on to shit because if one thing they can do, like they're trying to do in Georgia right now, is do these little tactics to suppress the vote of minorities whose votes been suppressed forever. White folks been voting in this country since 17 something. They've been voting in this country since 1789. Black folks for real, been only been voting less than 100 years, less than 65 years, less than 70 years. You know what I mean? Because some people like to think about the Reconstruction post the Reconstruction rights and laws and all that, but those wasn't really set in stone. Those wasn't really effective. You know what I mean? But I'm going based off of the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act of the 60s. So, I digress. But yeah, they're not going to talk about that. That's why I'm trying to talk about that, you know what I mean? And I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong. If I was wrong, I would have never done this. I ain't wrong about shit. I might doubt some of the shit I'm saying, but I ain't wrong. Malcolm Gladwell has helped me realize that my adaptive subconscious is something I should listen to more than I should have listened to. You know what I mean? Thanks, Mal. Mal. Republicans have had success with judicial nominee in large part because of a rule change by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada in 2013. Frustrated by GOP efforts to block Obama nominees, he changed the threshold to end debates and allow confirmation votes on federal court judges from 60 votes to 51. Yeah. That was like a major setup. Yo. I ain't even gonna lie, but I mean, it was a necessary move at that time because, yeah, it was a necessary move, man. Like you said, frustrated by GOP efforts to block Obama nominees, their efforts was, man, you could have literally said anything about Obama negative then, and people would go along with it. Like, that man could not win, yo. Even though he was winning every day he was in there. That man could not win. But, what's up, bro? Long time, bro. What's poppin'? What's happening? What's crackulating? It's like, now let me stop, yo. Let me stop. These people go and think that I'm part of the deep state that was plucked out of Africa in 1998 and brought here and secretly raised, have me move and live in all the liberal blue states so I can end up saying this shit right now, doing this dumbass little project. I'm being funded by such and such, yeah. Ask Wells Fargo, they will tell you how much my account balance is. Nah, ask Wells Fargo, they will tell you. Deep state my ass. Y'all racist ass motherfuckers. Because of the backlog that accumulated when Republicans controlled the pace of nominations for a Democratic president, Trump entered office with the ability to fill 112 judicial vacancies, more than twice the 52 vacancies that Obama inherited in early 2009. So let's do some math here, right? When Obama took office, it was 52 vacant seats for judges that had to be filled. And when he left, the Republican-controlled Senate had made sure that it was 112. Wow. Wow. That's sad, yo. That's sad. Oh yeah, that reminded me. So I had to go off on this guy on the bus the other day, right? This guy I work with, but we were not at work, so I didn't care. Even if we were at work, I didn't care. Based on what he says, I'm gonna tell you right now what he said. And you already know. If you follow me up to this point, you already know how I'm gonna react. I said, "Oh, you like one of them people who believe that Obama was the worst president ever, right?" And he said, "Yeah, I do believe that." I had to get away from this man because first of all, we would talk about something before that led to that that didn't make sense, and it just, yeah. Just to provide context, though, it was after that the Drake concert. Awesome concert, by the way. It wasn't too bad. A lot of people. To that Mexican chick, and you know what? I can't say Mexican because I don't know what her background is. I just pull a Trump move when I don't. It comes naturally when you live in America, unless you have the discipline to not want to do all the time. But I just pull a Trump move by referring to her as Mexican. But to the Latina sister who came in there with her sister, and both of them were already intoxicated, but she was more intoxicated than her sister was, and her sister wanted to buy her something. So they came into our location. I hope I don't lose my job for talking about this, but it's gonna make sense while I'm talking about it. And she came in there and she had a drink in there, even though we were not supposed to allow it, but it costs us money when people don't come in with a drink because they just turn around and don't want to buy. But sometimes they do come back, but 9 times out of 10 they will not come back. Y'all know what I mean. If you're in sales, you understand what I mean. But long story short, though, nah, ain't no long story short. This short story gonna be long as fuck. My bad. She had a drink there, and while her sister was paying for whatever she was paying for, she, the intoxicated one, grabbed her sister's drink and was moving it over to close to her sister. And while she was doing that, her equilibrium wasn't 100%. Of course, she's under the influence of alcohol. So, and she, the drink looked like it was tipping. And being OCD as I am, and as attentive, as observant as I am very observant. As attentive as and observant as I said something about her being careful when she was moving that. Why did I say that? This girl went off on me talking about who am I, what you gotta tell me this and that. And then to close it off while her sister finished off, I said some things back. I was just telling her back like, oh, I'll walk here. I'm just telling you to be careful so it doesn't damage our equipment. That's the tablet that we use for our sales. Yo, my manager's not gonna like this one when I'm talking about this right now because he don't came in there and caught me multiple times, and at least 2 times with people in there with drinks when they ain't supposed to have drinks in there. You know what I mean? But you know, it's a commission-based position, so law of averages, right? I digress though. So doing that whole mini back and forth where she was saying more than I was saying, she hit me now with this straight up, yeah. I'm a probation officer, nigga. Don't say shit to me. Or some shit. I'm a probation officer, nigga. I would do this and that, some shit. Then she just walked away, and as she was walking away, so I had formed in my mind to say, yeah, and I ain't never going to deal with you since you're a probation officer. I'm the wrong black man, you know what I mean? I I avoid situations where I have to end up in cuffs. I ain't got time for that. Them days are gone. That shit is stupid as fuck. So I'm a black man in America. They want to lock me up. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna give him the benefit of that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying people actually get locked up, but they want to do it. So why put myself? Why not stay 4 or 5 steps ahead of them when I know they want to do that anyway? Try to play out scenarios so I don't get into shit. LeBron know what I'm talking about. That's why that man ain't never got into no shit in his whole career. You know what I mean? What's up, bro? But I digress. So it was just interesting because the way she said it is like, I can imagine how she talks to her parolees, who she has to deal with, how she thinks about them, how she looks at them, how she looks down on them, not just looking at how she looks down on them. Because if somebody who is just doing his job and you look at that man, just if he reminds you of the people that are under your care through a prison industrial system of prisons, paroles, and probation, that's that's a revolving door. If you just look at that man and just tell him like that, just to try to put him in his place, like like the racist Law Ingram tried to tell LeBron, just shut up and dribble. If you do that, like, you know, y'all know where I'm going with it. So after that, that day was over. It was cool. I left work, and I got to the bus stop, went on this bus, and it's this lady who usually have her kids with her, who usually is on the bus during the day when I'm going to work. So, like, I never see her on the bus with her kids at night. So I saw her that night, and I said, "Wow, you out here late?" So she was explaining to me how she had to take one of her sons, Daniel. Hey, Daniel, 20, 30, 15 years, 40 years from now, man, if you still see this, that King's beanie, remember that a great African once wore it. But also, please read a book and vote. I'm just saying, man. Your moms will probably tell you how she always used to see me with a book. If you and your brothers and your sisters don't remember, you know what I mean? It's me, Alpha the African. I digress though. So we was talking this and that, we were done, and we was talking about the kids, how she ended up there that night because in East LA there's no children's hospital, there's no specific children's hospital, and there's probably about 1 million or so kids that live in East LA. So she had to take about 2 buses to go up to children's hospital, I think in wheelchair, on a wheelchair, I think. I'm not familiar exactly. She had told me, but I'm not familiar with children, where the all the hospitals are in LA still. It's only 2 years in, you know, exactly this week. I'm exactly 2 years in this week. So we were talking about that, and then she's telling me about her mom's and how her mom's had missed three treatments of dialysis, and because once she had her birthday and this and that, and now she was in the hospital because like the water in her system. Y'all know what happens when you miss dialysis, you know. And we was talking about that, and then I was telling her like, man, she has to be careful there because believe it or not, it's a mentality thing. Like your mom and you yourself have to realize that yes, I know it's her birthday. I know dialysis is rough. I know it's a lifetime thing you have to do, but it is a lifetime necessary thing. You know what I mean? Not. I wish all of us can afford to have our own dialysis machines in our homes. Davida and Fresenius, I'm sure if that becomes a lucrative, if it becomes a point where the majority of the minorities who need dialysis are actually can afford shit like that, they can come up with ways to have in-home dialysis services without the big bulky machinery. I'm sure they can, but you know, it's all about the bottom line and the profits, right? It's all about the dollar bills, yeah. You know what I mean? So we talk about that, and the bus got there. Then we got in the bus, and then I sat next to this coworker, Cass. He's a writer. I'm sure he writes more than he reads. I'm quite sure. I know a lot of people who swear they're writers and they write awesome stuff in their minds, I guess. But to me, this shit is just elementary and stupid as fuck because I get it. It's awesome to voice it, to push it out there, but don't don't sit there and talk about you're a writer and you probably only read one book every 3 years. Ask any writer. That's not what they do. You know what I mean? Writers probably read like maybe 50 books a year. That might be a stretch. That might be a stretch, but maybe. That might not even be enough. You know what I mean? You know. They're writers. All they have time to do is sit down and read. You know what I mean? They have other things to do, but they have plenty of time to read because they're established writers, but still. So we got to talking. First, he was telling me about the Kemet, and this is a guy who believes that the scourge of the world is the white man introducing homosexuality to the black community, and that's bringing us down in a way. This is somebody who was alive, who was probably a teenager or maybe a little older when Dr. King was killed. I found it out later in that argument, even though I knew he was. So we was talking about that. He was trying to convince me that oh, Africans used to be just vegetarians, and it was the white man, it was the Asians and the white man who actually introduced us to eating meat, and they ruined our diets and all that. I said, man, who the fuck is lying to you, man? Like, go ahead with that, man. Why the hell are we there hunters then? Why the hell were hunters like, don't get me wrong, we had a heavy plant-based, Africans probably millennials ago, eons ago, probably had a plant-based heavy diet, granted. But it was never a time when there was not fish, meat, and poultry in the ancient African diet, especially ancient Egyptian diet. That's just wrong. So we'll go back and forth, and he's trying to find the evidence of what he's saying because we didn't go back. He's trying to be adamant that he's right. I knew I was never going to convince him he was wrong. He was never going to convince me that I don't know what I'm talking about. But he got on Google, but instead of typing it out as usual, he put the phone up. Hey Google, what is it? Key mate, alright, cool. So I waited for him. He looked. He couldn't find anything to back what he was saying. And I got on my phone and Google and typed something out. I typed ancient African diet, and then I typed out ancient Egyptian diets. So a couple of pages came up. One was from ourdiet.com or ancientdiets.com or some shit, or .org or some shit. I can't remember exactly. I'm not gonna look for it. That was days ago. I've probably browsed to like maybe 150 or so pages since then. So then we just left there, and then while he was sitting there and I'm sitting there waiting, I was still reading Mandela, and I got to some parts where I feel like I'm gonna get to later anyway. I feel like I need to read the parts about how his freedom came about, but I digress. So we going back and forth. That's when I hit him with it. I was about 3 or 4 stops away from my stop. I hit him with it. I said, man, Cass, I bet you on them bros right now who think that Obama was the worst president ever, right? He said, yeah, I believe that. I said, you know what, man, I gotta get up from you, dog. I gotta go. I got up, so I went and stood by right after at the first row, right before the first row seats just went. And I turned to him and I asked him, I said, man, have you ever voted in your life? How many years have you voted in your life? He said he's only voted once. I said, perfect. Beautiful setup. And then I asked him, how old are you? He said, is that really necessary? I said, yeah, it's necessary. But at that moment, I realized he wasn't going to tell me. He was going to try to drag that out. So I asked him in a way that he can reveal his age. I said, were you alive when Dr. King was born? I knew he was. He said, yeah. And he was about to tell me some other things when he was, but I was like, well, it doesn't matter because I know you were alive, so that's why I asked you that. I said, well, guess what? In 50 years since Dr. King was killed, you've only voted once in your life. America had a black president for 8 years and only 4 months of a full Congress. And you call yourself saying that man was the worst president ever? And I told him, I said, man, just like I read in that thing that I was reading earlier, not from Jeff from Soapbox. It was like some presidents will envy, past presidents will envy Obama's record. Stop playing. You know what I mean? That shit just killed it. So, to anyone that was on that bus, especially that bus driver, because I know now when I get into my little soliloquies like that, I'm conscious of who my audience. I'm conscious of who's looking, who's thinking what. You know what I mean? Like I said, man, I'm probably one of those hidden gems who could have been doing something like this a long time ago, but I'm not looking for fortune or fame. That's never been my, if anything, I'd rather get in business if God ever put me in that financial place, get in business and just try to make money and help people along the way, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. I've been a working person my whole life. I know what it is to be that, you know what I mean? Like, we gonna get to that later. Y'all gonna see what I mean. So all those people that was on that bus that night, all those people that was on that Figueroa line that night, please, man, if you remember what I said, if some part of what I said triggers something in your mind for you to realize that, yes, I might have wrongfully taken a lot of credit away from America's 44th president. I might have wrongfully taken a lot of credit away from him. that wasn't right, if you thought that at any point that night, man, just go out and cast a ballot, man, and just continue every year. It's only once a year, the first Tuesday in November. You know, maybe with the right representation, they can change the voting days to Saturday. The reason it's a Tuesday, it was some backwards religious reason from way back when. It can be changed to a Saturday, or maybe a full weekend. Oh, Republicans will hate that. Trust and believe, they will hate that. You know what that will mean? Most minorities in America who work so hard all week will actually take time out to go cast that ballot on a Saturday or Sunday or Saturday. Sunday's church day. You know what I mean? For better or for worse, America is a Christian country. You know what I mean? I know it's all about religious tolerance. I get it. It's a Christian country. So, yeah. I just had to get into that real quick. You know what I mean? Just so the psyche of minority America and what will happen if we refuse to be enemies. Because of the backlog that accumulated when the Republicans controlled the pace of nominations for a Democratic president, Trump entered office with the ability to fill 112 judicial vacancies, more than twice the 52 vacancies that Obama inherited in early 2009. If you want to know the exact number, 60 more. That means Obama could have filled those 52. It wouldn't have need to have been 112 left to be filled. He could have filled more than that 52, but he was only allowed what? 22? Yep. 22 since the last 2 years. You know what I mean? So, yeah. McConnell's commitment to confirm nominees came with another electoral bonus. Vulnerable Senate Democrats running for re-election faced a leader determined to keep the chamber in session and them off the campaign trail through the month of October unless they could quickly approve a bunch of both judicial and executive branch nominees. So what Mitch McConnell did is made sure that he kept all these Democratic senators that are running for re-election, he kept them in session right now so they cannot go campaign to win the re-election. So the Republican opponents have free rein to campaign right now. And the reason he's keeping them on so they can confirm judges that Trump has nominated. Remember when McConnell said he wasn't going to confirm Merrick Garland because it was an election year? But his justification was it was a presidential election year, you know. It's just tactics, man, you know what I mean? Like, the only reason they can do that because they know they have enough people in those small, racist little states going out and voting on a consistent basis. They don't have to tell them to vote. Quite literally, do you hear Republicans telling their people to go vote? They expect them to go vote. They know that expectation. Can you imagine if 20 years from now, that expectation is just like that with the black and brown race? Can you imagine if it's just there, you don't have to tell us? Can you imagine if something like this doesn't have to be done to remind people to go vote? You know what I mean? I'm not even talking about the whole reading part no more. I'm talking about just the voting part. You know what I mean? Because that reading part, people say reading is an acquired taste, but it's really not. It is a human trait. It is necessary. Your mind needs to be fed just like your body and your stomach needs to be fed. You know? Now the votes that could have taken the rest of the month were cleared in the space of a few hours late Thursday night. That's last Thursday. In addition to the 15 judicial nominees confirmed Thursday evening, wow. The Senate unanimously approved 21 executive branch nominees. Wow, so that's 36 altogether. The president got lifetime judicial appointments. Senators get 3 precious weeks to hit the campaign trail and fight for their political lives. Whatever the outcome November 6th, I hope it's a blue wave, yo. I hope there's like a 70-30 split. Whatever the outcome November 6th, the total for McConnell's record-breaking term is likely to keep rising. When the Senate comes back to a lame duck session in mid-November, he's looking to get roughly 35 more judicial nominations and a score of executive branch nominees approved before Congress wraps up for the year. Wow. Y'all hear that? Like, these people cannot be... Put it this way, yo. If you gotta if you gotta go face a judge who believes that, if you gotta go face a judge who believes that, if you gotta go face a judge who believes that that loophole in the 13th Amendment is constitutionally legal, you've lost the battle before you even put on your shirt and tie that morning before going to court. As an African American in this country, or as an American of African descent, you know what I mean? Like, quite literally, I'm not trying to scare you. It's the truth of the matter, you know. So, yeah. This was from the Salt Lake City Tribune. The Salt Lake Tribune on October the 9th of 2018 by Thomas Burr. No state, and it started, no state has seen President Trump's approval rating drop faster than Utah, new poll shows. Washington. A new poll shows that among the states, Utah has recorded the most dramatic drop in approval for President Donald Trump. The poll, conducted by the news outlet Morning Consult, surveyed voters in every state and compared it with the numbers from when Trump took office in January 2017. The president's support has declined nationwide, but in only 3 states, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona, has Trump gone from at least 50% approval to a majority disapproval. Thank you, yo. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, man. I didn't know. Thank you. I'm not even... I ain't even trying to be funny about that. Thank you so much. Let me see. Thank you so much. Let me see. That is amazing. It says the president's support has declined nationwide. I told ya, man. People are realizing that the reason they fell in with this dumbass bullshit because they had been wrongfully convinced that Obama's presidency wasn't a good presidency, when in fact it was a great presidency. You know what I mean? But I digress. So. It says the president's support has declined nationwide, but in only 3 states, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico, has Trump gone from at least 50% approval to a majority disapproval. In Utah, about 58% of residents approved of the president when he was inaugurated, but now 50% oppose him. Only 45% still back the president. Yo, that's still a lot. I ain't gonna lie, yo. Wow. Racism ain't never gonna end in this country, yo. Even if we read and vote for 50 years, it could be a start, but that shit ain't never gonna fucking end, yeah. Yeah. Only 45% still back the president, the survey shows. Morning Consults created a net change rating, adding the drop in approval to the rise in disapproval. Utah scored a 32, the highest of any state, and something the White House occupants probably wouldn't be happy to see in one of the reddest states in the union. Trump's presidency has been largely about what people are willing to overlook for what they think is most important. Says Jason Perry, director of the University of Utah's Hinckley Institute of Politics. Right now we are seeing that even with a conservative Supreme Court nominee, new trade deals and the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, unemployment rate that's that low is because of President Barack Hussein Obama. Fuck you, dump truck. Fucking racist, rapist. New trade deals and the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. The balance has shifted in the minds of many voters as they react to some of the president's most controversial qualities. Utah has never been Trump territory. His 45% approval ratings matched the 45% of the vote he took in Utah during the 2016 presidential election, with the Democrat Hillary Clinton holding 27 of the vote and independent Utah Evan McMullen, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and former CIA agent, taking 21%, the anti-Trump, anti-Clinton crowd, or namely the anti-Obama crowd. The Money Consult poll shows that the District of Columbia, a Democratic haven where 90% of voters supported Clinton, Illinois, New Mexico, and New York had the highest net rating change, all with a 31% drop since the inauguration. Yo, I love DC for that, yo. I love the city for that. Psst, love the city for that, yo. 90% representation for the Democratic Party. See, I'm trying to tell you, man. Living in East and West in the United States is like living in two different worlds, yo. The mentalities are different. It's crazy, yo. But I digress, though. The president's poll numbers have declined in every state since he took office. Duh, the poll shows. With the highest net rating change at 8 in West Virginia and Alabama, where he still commands an approval rating about 60%, the Money Consult poll shows. Of course, Alabama. That's the state that wanted to, was that the state that wanted to elect Roy Moore? The little pedophile. In Utah, where Trump has hovered around 50% approval rating for most of his presidency, voters are not so sure about the president. And one recent poll showed that 57% of voters said Trump doesn't deserve a second term. That's a scary thought. The president's troubles have been cited in two House races in Utah. Representative Mia Love, a two-term congresswoman representing the 4th District, is trying to fend off a challenge from Democrat Ben McAdams, the mayor of Salt Lake County. The Cook Political Report recently called the race a toss-up, in part because the district doesn't approve of Trump. And Democrat Shireen Gobani has performed better than expected in Utah's 2nd District race against Representative Chris Stewart. Perry says in that 2nd District race, there's been a quote Trump factor. U.S. House Minority Leader Brian King, Democrat Salt Lake City, says the Money Consult poll numbers speak more to Trump's approach to the job as much as his actual performance. His bombastic style doesn't resonate well with the Utahns, even if some of his policy moves may be bestsellers in the conservative state. Maybe you can say the honeymoon is over because it's a pretty clear trend line down, King said in an interview. Trump will continue to have good support from his base of voters, King says, but he's not likely to win back some who can't even get over some of his rhetoric and attitude. Trying to tell y'all, man, if y'all think that the people, white racist supporters, are not gonna go keep voting for him and his believers and what they're doing, y'all are wrong, yo. That's why we gotta match him and surpass him. If it's one thing I know, yo, it's when somebody tell a black person in America they can't do something. We definitely gonna go do it. I'm just saying. They said we couldn't have an educated black man rise up to become president without having to sing and dance or dribble his way into it. It happened, you know. King noted specifically the president's ridiculing Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, a research psychologist who was accused newly confirmed Supreme Court Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh during a rally last week in Mississippi. That doesn't fly well anywhere, King says. I think it flies the least well in Utah. We put a high value in being decent to each other. The American way. The Morning Consult poll, which has conducted some 1.6 million interviews since Trump was inaugurated, has a margin of error of plus or minus 2 percentage points for the most recent poll, and a 6% margin for the survey in 2017. Alright. Hey, yo, T.I., your album cover for Urban Legend. I told you this earlier, me and my boy Pitt, when I say that camouflage with the hoodie and the beanie, when I say that was my style, like I was doing that before I saw your album cover, but that was just my style in '03 and '04, you know what I mean? '05 continue '06, yeah, maybe '07. I would still rock that, you know what I mean? So yeah. In homage to that video that you just put out there, showing what really happens when the first lady of 45 doesn't travel with the POTUS. You know, just 45. I think every other first lady before has had a lot more respect. You know what I mean? Even Kennedy had respect enough to not bang Marilyn Monroe in the White House when he knew Jackie was there. You know what I mean? Even Kennedy had that much respect for the office. But Melania though, she probably don't give her bodyguard some dumb off the top underneath of the resolute desk. Let's go, Melania. So I'm talking about, girl. You better get it. I ain't mad at you, girl, you know what I mean? From a man who's been with my share of women, not that many, you know what I mean? No means no, you know. So yeah, yeah. But for a man who's been through his share of that, I'm sure you will want a penis that gets hard rather than an old flaccid one. We get it. We feel your pain. We been felt your pain, girl. You know what I mean? You just the one that ain't been. They should make a loan of the SVO of you. That should be the series finale. And it should be titled 1600. If y'all don't know what that means, read up on some shit, man. But this is from Inc.com. Like I said, man, I like reading about business and, politics, sports, everything. Music, I can read about it too, Let's go. It's from Inc.com and it's under their growth section. And it's by Melanie Curtin, writer and activist. And it is titled, according to Oprah, all your arguments come down to these three questions. If the answers are no, there's likely going to be a problem. And it starts, conflict is complicated. Most of the time, it involves feelings that are both logical and illogical. Ooh, I forgot. I'm going to do this real quick. It says conflict is complicated. Most of the time it involves feelings that are both logical and illogical. That thing you're fighting about, whether at home or at work, is about both what's being stated and what's not being stated. It's about what's on the surface and what's underneath. The thing is, most of us focus on the surface and ignore what's underneath. That's the reason 85 to 90% of most of the brothers I've met and known, I can throw sisters in there too, I ain't gonna lie. I've had more problems with people that look like me than people that don't look like me because that's how I am. I deal with shit that's underneath. My adaptive subconscious say I listen more with my eyes and with my ears, you know what I mean? I sit and I point it out. If you're not willing to deal with it right then and there, I can't help you. You know what I mean? You're gonna get mad because I'm gonna say shit you ain't gonna like.